Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
All right, Chris. New year, man. But you got to
Sir,
fight. January
yes.
27th, Octagon 52. You're gonna fly over to England.
Okay.
How you feel
Yes,
about
sir.
that?
It feels great. It's been a long time. Put in 8 years of hard work, and every day I wanted to quit, but I had a goal to keep pushing, and it finally worked out.
Yeah, definitely. And you got this opponent, Aaron Aby. He's a guy that just fought for the title for Octagon, which
Yes.
means it's a huge opportunity for you because you're gonna fight a former title challenger, man. What do you think of him and his style?
His style, he's like a walking insect, like a little stick. You know that little insect that's like a stick and crawls, and he's quick.
Yeah,
So he's stiff, but he moves fast. But there's no purpose in his movements. His only purpose is try to hug my legs, and I'm content to be in the ground. I'm a jiu-jitsu brown belt. I know he's a black belt, but every jiu-jitsu guy on the ground, especially for MMA, the belts start lowering and lowering after they keep getting hit. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep hitting him, and then he's gonna keep becoming the next belt, which is gonna be a white belt before I tap him out.
all right, there you go. And let's jump back into let's rewind to last year. You know what I mean? Last
Yeah.
year you had two fights. Let's talk about the first one against Jason Eastman.
Yes.
Just your overall thoughts on how that fight played out.
Before I fought Easton, I didn't fight for I believe 11 months or a year before I fought Easton, so I had a little ring rust. Yes, I've been training at that time before I fought him, but it wasn't how I've been training for this fight, like a championship fight. Like I was doing only one training a day, maybe two, only in the mornings, and then I'll go to school. So I didn't have the opportunity to train morning and nights like I normally do and do my strength and conditioning and run. So I didn't get that. So for this fight, I'm able to get all that because I was done with school. So all my focus was just on training and having a vision, a target, which is fight for the belt.
Did you finish school last year?
I finished the school this year, but last year was a. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Hectic.
I'm sorry. This is 2024 now. Yeah, I finished
Yeah.
school 2023. I had fire academy, and I also had paramedics. I'm trying to be a fireman because of the schedule. I'm able to fight and have a regular job. Being a fighter is like it's all cool. You get to travel, see the world. You get to teach little kids and adults, but at the end of the day, the majority of the time you're broke. Fighters are broke, and I'm
Yeah,
tired of
for
being
sure.
broke.
Yeah, of course, man. We all are. And with being a firefighter and training for that, it's like you have two physically demanding jobs
Yes,
at the same time, man.
yes.
How'd you handle all of that? It must have been crazy.
It was tough, like at the end of the day, I have a child, so I know I got to take care of him, and I got to work. I got to feed myself as well. If I don't take care of myself and my kid, no one else is gonna do it. So that's the motivation right there. Just keep pushing. Even though I had fire academy and paramedics at the same time, I knew there was an end goal, which was to have a job and a career to benefit my life and my kids' life as well.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you're thinking about that as well.
Yes,
Sometimes
sir.
you
I
do
love
have to
fighting,
have a
but I know
plan
it's not
B.
forever. Correct.
Yeah, exactly. It's not forever. Yeah, so after the Eastman fight, you returned like less than 2 months later and got a first round finish. From what you were saying earlier about like not having the proper training and everything to prepare for the fight, it looked like you had a bad taste in your mouth. You just wanted to get back in there real fast and
Yes,
erase that memory, right?
absolutely, absolutely. If I could have fought the next weekend, I could. Unfortunately, I got stopped with a knee, which is a TKO, and with TKO, it's either 3 months or 6 months layoff until you could come back. So I had to wait till that layoff was over, and as soon as I found out the promotion was having a fight, I had to get in there and get it back.
For sure, man. How did it feel, man, getting your hand raised after a long layoff? Then you had a setback, and then you get back in there and you get a finish. It's not even like a 3 round war or nothing like that. It's just a first round finish.
It felt great. I like first round finishes. At the end of the day, I'm not getting paid for overtime, but at the same time, like I like getting the experience. Like a lot of people, they finish fights in the first round, but once the second round starts, it's like they lose, right? It's because they're not used to going deep waters, and I like going to deep waters to test myself because at the end of the day, I don't know if I'm going to finish the first, second, or third, or maybe go straight to decision. I got to make sure I have the cardio and endurance to handle that.
What do you think it is with certain fighters where they're really really good in the first round, but once they get to like the later rounds, it seems like they become like a different fighter. What do you think it is? Because fighters, they're training all the time and they're getting ready for fights all the time. They're doing 5 rounds of this, 10 rounds of that, but in the fight, some of them just can't make it to the 3rd round.
Yeah, it all depends. Some fighters is because they didn't put in the road work. They were training. By the end of the day, they didn't do the cardio, they didn't do the runs, they didn't do the sprints, none of that, or they didn't put extra time in training. Or sometimes it's just the jitters. The adrenaline dump in the beginning. Going, say for instance, I'm training and I'm going 60% in my training, but in that first round they're going 100%. That body's not used to going to 100%. Where that second round comes, it's like, hey, it's time to relax, to catch our breath. It's not used to that. So now you just dump, you're overloaded. Now it's like, oh shoot, my arms is high. Now it's going down low because I didn't train for 100%. I only train for 60. So I make sure I train in all different aspects, high intensity, low intensity, because I don't know what position I'm going to be. Fighting, it's how can I say it? Fighting, it's a sport that we don't know what's gonna happen. You could be the underdog and win, or everyone knows you're gonna lose and still lose. At the end of the day, fighting is a sport that you never know what's gonna happen. So you got to train for everything.
Yeah, so many variables. And that last
Yes.
fight was in May. I mean, since
Yes.
then, like, what were you doing during that time until you got this
So
call for the fight?
until I got this call for this fight, all I was doing is training twice a day, and I was doing paramedics and fire school. So I would do my clinicals at the hospitals. I would do my ride times at the fire station, and I also go 2 days at school at my school for paramedics. And then I had my fire academy on alternating days, which was very hectic. But I made time to train in the morning as hard as I can, and then at nighttime when I come home from school, I'm either going to work or I'm training at the gym, regular gym, or even outside in my patio if I have to.
Yeah, yeah, man. Dedication.
Yes.
That's the word, man. Dedication. If you don't have
Yes.
it,
That fight with Eastman shouldn't have went down like that. Unfortunately, I didn't take that fight serious, and I shouldn't have taken that fight. But it was a learning lesson.
yeah, for sure. And where are you splitting your training? Are you doing everything in one spot, or are you going to different spots?
So my main training is at Allers Martial Arts. That's with my coach Jim Allers. He was a UFC veteran and bare knuckle beast as well. And I also go to MMA Science to do my sparring, and I also go to IQ Movement in Fort Lauderdale for my strength and conditioning and mid work. So I do cross training, a lot of cross training.
Yeah, and it's probably the best combination for you at this moment, right? You feel great. You feel
Yes,
confident with everything that's transpiring in your camp.
correct. Like I tell everyone, it's like if a coach tells you you can't cross train, you gotta leave that gym. Because back in the days, UFC one, you're able to stay at one gym and never cross train and just stick to that one art, one coach your whole life that you fought in MMA or kickboxing, whatever that sport was. But now the game evolved to the point these kids are training 3 years old to 4 years old, all the way to the 18. And by the time they're 18, they have about 200 fights, 40 fights, depending on what sport it is. And you can't just stay in one gym because the game is evolving every single day.
How is it for you to go to like a new gym and like just step on the mat and you don't really know who's there? You know what I mean? Because there's guys nowadays that are amateurs that are
Yes.
super high level, right? So when you
Yes.
go into a new spot, they're looking at you because you're the pro. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, how is that? Is there a little nerves in that as well?
It's always a little nervous because at the end of the day, like I'm going there to spar or do jujitsu, whatever the case might be. And my goal is to get hard rolls or hard sparring. But at the end of the day, I want to come out how I came in, injury free. So when you're a new person at the gym, you're a new prey for them to attack. Hey, this is a new guy. It's like going to a tournament. You don't know these people, so let's see if what I learned in my gym works against your gym. So when I walk into a gym, they want to knock my head off, but I know how to survive. I know how to hit back.
And you mentioned the fight earlier last year, but you
Yes.
started your career off with a loss, man. Take us back to that and like recovering from that and like coming back from that because this is a hard sport, man. You have to do so much, and for that one moment, and if that moment doesn't play out right, sometimes it could just deter you from doing anything else. Like, how did you
Yes.
come out of that?
So thank God it happened to me early. So it started for amateur. Like before I got into amateur, when I first walked into MMA gym, I was like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna start training. I'm gonna get amateur fights and I'm gonna become undefeated. Then I'm gonna go pro and I'm gonna be undefeated. Little did I know, I was undefeated for 3 fights in a row, my first 3 fights, and then I lost my fourth one. So after that, I knew it was like, hey, at the end of the day, it's hard to be undefeated. You know, I'm not gonna fight the easiest fights. I'm gonna fight the hardest people, fight the toughest wrestler, fight the toughest kickboxer, whatever that sport is. I'm gonna fight the toughest at the end of the day to test my abilities. So when I go pro, I seen all the martial arts. So I'm not scared when I go against the wrestler or jiu-jitsu guy. So when I fought my amateur, no, I'm sorry, when I fought my pro at Bellator, unfortunately I lost to somebody that I fought amateur. He beat me decision
Yeah.
in amateur, and then he beat me again. What was it? It was an armbar. There we go. It was an armbar in the first round, and it hurt. To be honest, it really hurt. I was like, "Yo, you know what? Like, I thought I was gonna go. I thought I was gonna go pro and be undefeated, and I thought I was gonna be undefeated in amateur. It didn't go that way. But at the end of the day, I have a mission. The mission was my son passed away. He gave me this look like, hey, you know what? Like, I believe you. You say you're gonna be on TV fighting. That's what it's gonna be. And I told myself, no matter how hard it gets, I'm gonna keep pushing through it. So yeah, it sucked to lose, especially my first fight at a big promotion. But at the end of the day, I couldn't let that one loss stop me. Tony Ferguson, he lost his first 2, I believe, and then he went on a 15 fight wrecking streak. You know, so at the end of the day, one loss doesn't set you back.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't, man. And man, flyweight is like the most exciting division, like in
To
like
some
all of
people,
fighting, right? Like just
yeah,
like if you look at let's just give you an example of like even like the UFC and their title fights nowadays with the flyweights, insane fights. Like every single title
yes,
fight is insane. Like the pace, the
correct.
technique, the grittiness, right? It's like these little dudes is tough too, man. Don't count them out.
Yes, yes, definitely. Of course, we have the cardio, and some of us 25 hours we have the power to knock someone out. Unfortunately, I
Yeah,
didn't unlock mine yet, but maybe this fight I did. You know, let's see.
yeah, yeah. What do you
But
what do you
25
envision
is
in
definitely
this fight?
exciting.
What do you envision in this fight coming up, man? Because this is an opportunity to kind of like establish yourself in that division for the promotion, and Octagon is probably the biggest in Europe right now, like just popping
Yes,
off.
correct. How I see a finish any way possible. It could be a submission, or it could be even a TKO. It could be a mount, could be rear naked choke. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he breaks when the going gets tough. He breaks every round, especially in the first round. He goes hard. Second and third, he dies out because he blew his load. You know, he's not used to that pace. And once he knows he can't finish in the first round, he starts slowing down. So I'm gonna pick him apart. Pick him apart.
How many times have you seen your opponent break? Like you saw their face during the fight and said, hmm,
Too many, too many
too
times.
many.
Yes, too many times. They come hard at me in the first round. I'm a slow starter. You know, I like to analyze what you're doing. I like to pick and read patterns. But my last 2 or 3 fights, I stepped it up. So now to win the first round, it's going to be a lot of hard pace for him to beat me in the first round. It's not going to be slow. Hey, let me figure it out. 1-1-2. It's going to be everything: wrestling, jiu-jitsu, everything. And he's not going to be able to handle that pace if he survives.
January 27th, Newcastle, England, Octagon
Yes.
52. Chris Daniels back in action. Thank you so much, man, for the time. And I'm really looking forward to this one, man, because I always like dudes coming in and getting these opportunities, right, against like a top contender
Yeah.
and seeing what they can do. Like, really, it's your opportunity to show the level you're at.
Correct. I'm just blessed. Excuse me. Like I said, it's been 8 years. I always wanted to travel, especially when my coach was fighting at Cage Warriors before he made it to UFC. He was supposed to fight Connor, and Connor got called to the UFC. And ever since I knew that, I was like, "Yo, I want to do that." And I've been under his wing for 10 plus years, this training. And I always said, "Hey, I'm gonna travel to Europe and I'm gonna fight one day." And it's crazy how it just turned full circle. His coach trained him, and they went to Europe together. And now he's doing the same thing to me now. Now he's my coach, and he's going to Europe to coach me over there, and it's awesome. It's a great feeling.
It is. It is awesome, man. Thank you, man, so much for the time.
Nah, thank you for having me, man. Thank you, John.